any street in any town across the world. We are within the walls of the Masonic temple to witness the climax of a strange and sacred ritual performed only a few times a year. These men are not actors performing for our cameras.
Was timely and good.
They are businessmen and lawyers, citizens and brothers. 21st century Masons acting out a scene that has been played out in exactly the same way at Masonic lodges all over the world since the early 1700s. Each ritual features a high level of planning, for this ceremony is at the heart of Freemasonry. It commemorates the death of Master Mason, Hiram Abiff. Hiram Abiff was the architect of King Solomon's temple in Jerusalem. He was a minor biblical figure, mentioned in a single line of the Book of Chronicles, transformed into the central character of Masonic legend and ritual.
Heavenly Father, may a portion of your wisdom be received, enabling me to draw designs upon the trestle board. For thou art my rock and my fortress. For thy name's sake, lead and guide me.
Hiram Abiff embodies the values that all Masons strive for in their quest to become Master Masons.
These plans are all in order.
Whilst inspecting the work on the temple, Hiram Abiff encounters three of his craftsmen. They are known as Jubilah, Jubilo, and Jubilum. They demand from him a password that they think will grant them wisdom and power.
Grand Master Hiram Abiff, I am glad to have met you thus alone. This is an opportunity I have long sought. You promised when the temple would be completed that you would give us the secret word of a Master Mason, enabling us to travel in foreign lands in order to earn a master's wages.
The story of Hiram Abiff may be set in ancient times, but its lesson is easily transposed into the modern world.
You and I will talk.
So we know you gotta pay up. Where's the money?
We just want our cut, that's it.
Cut of nothing is nothing. Get back to work.
We know it's there. We know
Fat
you know the
chance. Fat,
combination.
you don't know nothing about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
The lesson is the same. Seek not what you have not earned.
Grand Master Hiram Abiff, I heard you cavilling with Jubilah and Jubilo. From them you have escaped, but from me never. My name is Jubilum. Grand Master Hiram Abiff, for the third time, I demand of you the secret word of a Master Mason.
Your demands are vain. Wait until the temple is completed, and I will do my best to serve you.
Then die.
The old man's refusal costs him his life. The three craftsmen, known as ruffians, take their master's body and conceal it beneath rubbish.
I now propose that we plant a sprig of acacia at the head of the grave to mark the spot should future occasion require us to find it.
Agreed.
The senior warden calls his workers together and discovers something is amiss.
Craftsmen, assemble. Hey, miss. Here. Lead. Here. Jubilah. 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 Joshua. Here. Nathan. Here. Jubilah. 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 Samuel.
Here.
Israel.
Here?
Jubilah. Jubilah. Jubilam. Jubilam. Gilligan.
Here.
Daniel. Here. Craftsman. Roll call is finished. Be gone.
We've arrived at the city.
Meanwhile, the ruffians have fled to the port of Joppa to seek their escape.
Hail, sire. Is that your boat yonder?
Yes, that's my vessel.
Ah, we're fortunate. Whither are you bound?
Ethiopia.
When do you sail?
Tomorrow.
Ah, that is well. We would obtain passage with you.
My vessel is full. I want no passengers.
But we'll pay you well. What's your price?
Well, what if you have?
We're weary and would rest. Can we go ashore at once?
Yes, come aboard. But hold, where is your pass?
Pass? The gold is our pass. We know of no other.
Oh, don't you know that King Solomon has issued an edict that none shall leave the realm without his pass? You that have no pass, here's your gold. You now obtain passage on my vessel.
What are we going to do now?
The site is thrown into chaos as neither the new plans nor the Grand Master Hiram Abiff can be found.
Craftsman, what is the cause of this confusion? Why are you not pursuing your labors as usual?
Well, there's no designs upon the trestle board, and our Grand Master Hiram Abiff is missing.
Well, this is something we're going to have to look into. Return to your quarters and await further orders.
Now, according to legend, word reaches King Solomon that his master mason has been murdered.
Brother Hiram, King of Tyre,
Most excellent King Solomon.
what was the cause of all that confusion, and why are the craft not pursuing their labors as usual?
The craftsmen report there are no designs upon the trestle board whereby they can pursue their labors, and that Grand Master Hiram Abiff is missing.
Grand Master Hiram Abiff is missing? He has been ever punctual in the performance of every duty. I fear an accident has befallen him. Cause strict search to be made in and about the several apartments of the temple and see if he can be found.
Craftsmen, assemble.
When the craftsmen come before the king, they confess to a startling plot.
Most excellent King Solomon,
Craftsman,
we 12 with 3 others had a conspiracy to obtain the word from most excellent Hiram Abiff. King plotted to kill him, but we recanted on seeing the enormity of the circumstances. But we feel that the other 3 have murdered their Grand Master Hiram Abiff.
Craftsman, rise and repair to your labors. Your pardon will depend upon your future conduct. You can be gone.
Most excellent King Solomon, we heard the voices of the 3 ruffians. We rushed in and we captured them and bound them, and we bring them before you.
Jubilah, you stand charged with being an accessory to the murder of Grand Master Hiram Abiff. What say you, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Jubilah, you stand charged with being an accessory to the murder of Grand Master Hiram Abiff. What say you, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Jubilee, you stand charged with being the murderer of Grand Master Hiram Abiff. What say you, guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Vile and impious wretches, reflect upon the enormity of your crime and the amiable character of him you have slain. Look up and receive your sentence, which is that you be taken without the walls of the city and severally executed agreeably to the imprecations of your own mouths. Begone! Brother Hiram, King of Tyre, there can be no longer any doubt as to the death of Grand Master Hiram Abiff or to the identity of the body, for this is the jewel that he wore. Alas, I fear the Master's word is lost, for you will remember that it was agreed between yourself, myself, and Grand Master Hiram Abiff that the secret word of a Master Mason would not be given unless we 3 were present and agreed. One of our number is no more. I propose that you assemble the craft and repair with me to the grave for the purposes of raising the body and bringing it up to the temple for a more decent interment. I also propose that the first sign given at arrival at the grave and the first words spoken after the body shall have been raised shall be respectfully the grand hailing sign of distress of a Master Mason, and the word a substitute for that which was lost, until future generations should discover and bring to light the true word. Brother Hiram, King of Tyre, in our present emergency, what should we do?
Right.
Brethren, let us pray.
Amen.
Brethren, let us rise. Brother Hiram, King of Tyre, your counsel was timely and good. Masons should ever remember that when the strength and wisdom of man fails, there is an inexhaustible supply given to us from above. My mind is now clear. The body shall be raised. So the skin slips.
Now King Solomon creates a new word, a word that no Mason at this meeting will pronounce on or off camera. Of all the secrets of Freemasonry, none is as tightly guarded or as seemingly silly to outsiders as a single 3-syllable word, the passkey to the 3rd degree. The secret password is Mahabone, which can be translated as, "Who is the builder?" The word is bestowed in a whisper to the soon-to-be Master Mason, along with a hand grip and stance. Although it is easy to find this secret word online or in a reference book, its true meaning eludes all but those that are initiated into the Masonic mysteries. For Freemasons, the issue is not the word itself, it is the moral lesson of having and keeping the secret, and respect for those who have earned their wisdom. Prospective members should state an interest in joining Freemasonry at their own will and admit to a belief in a supreme being. As new Freemasons go through the ranks, they enter a hierarchy of novice Masons, Master Masons, and Grand Masters, each one reached through initiation and rewarded with a secret password. The first degree is centered around mastering emotions and impulses, and the second about gathering knowledge.
Versal Master, I present Brother Davison.
The third degree is reached when the candidate brings all these together to become physically purified, mentally sharpened, and intellectually broadened.
Go then, my brother, and may the blessings of God accompany you.
Third degree initiation is based on the legend of Hiram Abiff. In this initiation ceremony, for all new members, the candidate plays the role of Hiram Abiff, the biblical stonemason who was murdered for protecting the secrets of Masonry. The candidate is blindfolded. He is not told what to expect. The fear is very real. The Masons confront him, demanding the secret password of a Master Mason. The candidate's conductor answers on his behalf.
Grand Master Hiram Abiff, I am glad to have met you thus alone. Behold, the temple is near completed, and I demand the secret word of a Master Mason.
Craftsman, this is neither the time nor the place to give the secret word of a Master Mason. Wait until the temple is completed, and if found worthy, you shall receive it. If not, you cannot.
Cannot? Speak not to me of time nor place. Give me the secret word of a Master Mason.
I will not.
Will not. Give me the secret word of a Master Mason this instant, or I will take your life.
I shall not.
Then die.
This is a wonderfully powerful ritual, and as the candidate acts out the role of Hiram Abiff, he experiences the most dramatic way of learning what his deepest fears are, and what it is like to face his own mortality.
Grand Master Hiram Abiff, I demand of you the secret word of a Master Mason. Escape is impossible.
Craftsman, why all the violence? You know the secret word of a Master Mason cannot be given except in the presence of Solomon, King of Israel, Hiram, King of Tyre, and myself.
Grand Master Hiram Abiff, I demand of you the secret word of a Master Mason, or I will take your life.
I shall not.
Then die.
Grand Master Hiram Abiff, I heard you cavilling with Jubala in Jubalo. From them you have escaped, but from me never. My name is Jubalam. I hold in my hand an instrument of death. If you refuse me now, you do so at your peril. I, for the third time, demand of you the secret word of a Master Mason.
Wait until the temple is completed, and I shall do my best to serve you.
Then die.
The lesson is obvious. The secrets of the Brotherhood are meant to be taken to the grave. In the third degree, the candidate's death, through the character of Hiram Abiff, symbolizes the beginning of their new life as a Freemason. From the genteel to the grandiose, the lodge room of Freemasonry holds its own symbolic meanings, hierarchy, and a unique layout which seems bewildering to outsiders. As a sign of their new openness, the Freemasons of Halifax, Nova Scotia, have arranged a special tour of their lodge to demystify and educate. What does it all mean? And what are the roles of each Freemason? How does an actual lodge meeting work?
Welcome. Welcome to the Blue Room in the Freemasons Hall of the Grand Lodge of Nova Scotia. My name's Vic Lewis, and I'll be your tour guide today. If you look around the room, it's like any other Masonic lodge, and today we're going to go around the Blue Room and show you what some of the things are, and as much as I can tell you about what the symbolism means, because I can't tell you everything. One of the accoutrements of our Blue Room, but not necessarily Masonic symbol, is the picture we have on the wall here. And that's a picture of Alexander Keith, a noted brewer in Halifax. He was also a legislator and Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of Nova Scotia, and an important officer in many other Masonic bodies for many years. One of our most known and respected Freemasons. We'll start with the most important area. It's called the East, and that's where the Master of a Lodge sits. We usually refer to as the Chair of Solomon.
Officers, take your respective stations and places and be clothed.
If you look at those chairs, you'll see symbols on the top of them. And in most Masonic lodges, there are symbols like that somewhere near all the stations in a lodge. That square says that the master sits there. These things say that a past master sits here. And so the East is usually in Masonic lodge reserved for past masters. Notice that he's on 3 steps that come up. I'd like to tell you what those 3 steps mean, but you'll have to become a Mason to find out. Down on the front, we have 2 stones on either side. We call them ashlars. One is a rough ashlar, and one's a smooth ashlar. The rough ashlar is the way a man comes into Masonry, and a smooth ashlar represents the man after he becomes a Master Mason. This is the Master's gavel. The Master uses the gavel to keep order in the lodge. If the Grand Master or another senior officer visits, it's customary for the Grand Master to offer the visiting officer the gavel so that he can take over the lodge.
Right Worshipful Brother Junior Grand Warden, it is indeed a pleasure to have you with us here in Burns Lodge this evening, and an honor for me to present you with our gavel and invite you to take a seat in the Oriental Chair of King Solomon.
Worshipful Master, it is indeed a pleasure to visit Burns Lodge once again, and I know you have a lot on your plate this evening, so I'll hand you back the gavel so you can get on with the work of the evening. Thank you again.
Down at the other end of the room, the west, sits the second most senior officer in the lodge, and he's the senior warden.
Brother Senior Warden.
Worshipful Master.
Are all present Master Masons?
Worshipful Master, all present are Master Masons.
His symbol is on top of his chair, and it's a level. The senior warden, naturally, the master's second in command, and his responsibilities are in the lodge to make sure the master's orders are carried out, and responsible for decorum in the lodge. And basically, he would be expected to be the master after the current master gets out of office. This is where the junior warden sits.
The worshipful master may receive honor and the crown.
His sign over his chair is a plum. And we must be called Freemasons for a reason, and the symbolism that we use all comes from masonry or construction of some kind. The junior warden is now in Masonic lodges today, is more or less the hospitality man in the lodge. And he makes sure that all the people that visit the lodge are comfortable, looks after the social life of the lodge. These are where the stewards of a lodge sit. Their symbol is the horn of plenty. Remember, the junior warden is the hospitality man in the lodge. These are the brothers who help him accomplish that task. The treasurer is one of our senior officers in a Masonic lodge too. Of course, it's pretty obvious what he does. He looks after the money, so he has the keys to the strongbox on his chair. And if you're lucky, it's a guy that knows something about accounting and things like that. On the other side of the worshipful master sits the secretary. And the secretary of the lodge carries out pretty well all the business of the lodge. In most lodges, he's really the worshipful master's right-hand man. And if you look at his chair, he's got quills on it. These are pens.
Brother Senior Deacon.
Worshipful Master.
Your duties.
To carry messages from the worshipful master in the east to the senior warden in the west, and elsewhere about the lodges he may direct.
This is where our senior deacon sits. And if you look at his symbol, it's a dove of peace. And the senior deacon has beside him a staff that he carries around the lodge with him. And these are special staffs for my lodge. And if you look at the top of them, they have a thistle because we're a Scottish lodge. He's probably one of the busiest people in a Masonic lodge because he carries things around the lodge. He distributes the messages between the master, the senior warden, and all the other brothers. He also welcomes people that come to the lodge. So if you come into a Masonic lodge, you're probably met at the door by the senior deacon. He also is responsible for preparing new candidates for initiation and very much responsible for their education. The senior deacon also has a second, and naturally it would be the junior deacon, and his chair is here, and of course he carries the same symbol because he's a deacon. Those are the people that do most of the work in the lodge, but there's a couple of other junior offices. You can see that we have different symbols. This is where the chaplain of a lodge would sit.
Grant that the sublime principles of Freemasonry may so subdue every discordant passion within us, so harmonize and enrich our hearts with thine own love and goodness.
The historian might sit in this chair. If you go back over to the senior deacon's chair, in this particular one, the symbol represents music because this is the organist station, but any officer can sit here. In my lodge, the director of ceremonies sits here. Now, a couple of offices we haven't looked at very closely were right when we came in the door. Let's go have a look at them. Right near the door of the lodge, the inner guard sits, and his symbols are two crossed swords because he is one of the guardians of the lodge to make sure that people don't get into the lodge that don't belong. And he works in conjunction with a senior member outside called the Tyler, and between the two of them, they guard the entrance to the lodge. And if anybody wants in the lodge that don't belong. And he works in conjunction with a senior member outside called the Tyler, and between the two of them, they guard the entrance to the lodge. And if anybody wants in, the guy outside will check him out first, and this man will enter him in and bring him into the lodge if the worshipful master says it's okay.
Grand Lodge officers who accompany the Right Worshipful Junior Grand Warden will advance to the altar, salute, and take seats in the east.
Right in the corner of the lodge are a couple of pillars. Since this is a representation of King Solomon's temple, these pillars represent the pillars that were at the porch of King Solomon's temple. Now, if we come back here and look all over the lodge, we can see how it might be laid out as part of a temple. Because right back here where the pillars were is the first gate that you pass through. And you come into the second part at the altar, and the altar is clear separation between one part of the lodge and the other. And that part of the lodge where the master sits is the part that's out of bounds. It's the holiest part of King Solomon's temple, and it's the part that's most respected in masonry. At the altar in the Masonic Lodge, you'll find, in our case, a Holy Bible, but nowadays we refer to it as the volume of sacred law because we do not espouse any religion at all in Masonry. We welcome men of any religion to the craft. There are lodges in Singapore, for instance, which have 6 or 7 different books open on their altar because they have men of that many religions there. And this is where, if somebody's visiting the lodge, they first appear before the master and find out what kind of business is being conducted in the lodge so that they know what's going on. And the way things are laid out here tells us how the lodge is operating at the time. This is a special place too because this is where we first bring people when they come to be Masons. And one of the reasons why we have a holy book is so that we can extract an oath from these men and that they can be sure that the promises they make to all the brothers around the lodge are binding. In some lodges, in some parts of the world, there are no books on the Bible because they think that the word of a man should be his code. The lodges that are associated with English and North American lodges, we don't think that, and we like to have a holy book on the altar. A Masonic Lodge is in all its aspects an aide-memoire to Masons for the lessons that they learned on their trip to becoming a Master Mason.
The symbolism of Freemasonry remains one of its biggest enigmas. Washington, D.C. is the American headquarters of Scottish Rite Freemasonry. Outside, the temple is merely monumental, but we're going inside into a hidden realm of images and icons, marble and myth. The roots of Freemasonry lie in the operative stonemason's tools, work, and even job titles, none more so than the system of hand grips denoting how qualified and what rank a specific Mason held.
Freemasonry uses many symbols. I am Akram Elias, and I am a Freemason. Currently the Senior Grand Warden of the Grand Lodge of Free and Accepted Masons in Washington, D.C. Of course, the one that is most known, and we call it the universal symbol of Freemasonry, is the square and compasses. The compasses are the instrument that help a Mason learn that he is at the center of the creation. And you use the compasses to draw a circle around you, and the idea being that you need to circumscribe your desires. When dealing with others, don't go into extremes. Extremism is bad. Be moderate. The square is a symbol of wisdom because it brings together the concept of equality, equal sides, and rectitude, 90-degree angles. Using wisdom, you can know how large the set of compasses should be in dealing with others. That's the universal symbol of Freemasonry. The trowel, however, is of very special significance because, you know, operative Masons use the trowel to obviously lay the cement, which brings the various stones together and help them bond. In Freemasonry, we look at the trowel as the one instrument that spreads and lays fraternal brotherhood, which is the way through which we can come together as a band of brothers. Respect one another's religion, one another's opinion. That's the idea behind it. So the trowel is essential to brotherhood. In many places, you will find the letter G. And the letter G representing the great geometer, the grand architect of the universe. That is that supreme being, supreme intelligence, whoever, whatever that is, reflecting the diverse beliefs of the brethren.
The layout of the lodge room holds great significance. It is the template of the Freemasonic ideal.
The lodge room is positioned east-west with 3 important positions. Starting here in the south, this is where the junior warden sits. We call that the pillar of beauty. Understanding and appreciating beauty is very important because that leads a person to think positively, to be creative in his or her thinking. And from there, we move to the second station, which is located in the west. That pillar is represented by strength, because we need the strength of character in order to stand behind the beauty, stand behind those principles and beliefs that Freemasons espouse, and that is, every man is entitled to be a free man, to think for himself, to act for himself. That right should be defended. And here's the most important station in the lodge, the third pillar in a lodge, and it's situated in the east. This is where the master of the lodge sits, and his symbol is the square. It is considered the pillar of wisdom. Again, wisdom is the ability to balance rectitude and equality. That is, to provide the equal opportunity and make sure there is equal treatment offered to everyone. The balancing of the two make the square, and that is the symbol of wisdom in Freemasonry. Central to the furniture of a lodge is the altar. On it you will find in an operating lodge the volume of the sacred law. It is reference to whatever holy books that the members of the lodge believe in. You notice there are what we call 3 lesser lights. When the candidate is being initiated, it is dark, and when he sees those 3 lesser lights, help him see what is here: the volume of the sacred law and the universal symbol of Freemasonry.
Numbers and geometric shapes also hold immense meaning in Freemasonry.
3 is of special significance in Freemasonry. As you saw, there are 3 positions, 3 pillars in the lodge, 3 lesser lights. Esoterically, it represents the nature of the human being. We are part physical, part intellect, and part spirit. And this is why often in Freemasonry you see the equilateral triangle in symbolism, because it's 3 equal sides to represent that. And that gives you a hint about what the significance of the 3 degrees are.
It isn't just the surroundings of the lodge room. Even the clothes Freemasons wear are laden with symbolism.
The first thing that I put on is the apron. The apron is the badge of a Mason. A Mason cannot be accepted into a lodge if he's not wearing an apron when the lodge is at labor.
In many lodges, the apron is decorated with emblems denoting their ranks and role. Apprentice Masons wear a plain white apron.
Now, in our Grand Lodge, the free and accepted Masons in Washington, D.C., the apron of a Grand Lodge officer is still a white apron. The white apron is the apron given to the entered apprentice. It is white, symbol of innocence, and it is to remind ourselves that no matter how high up in grade, and in degrees we get, we're always apprentices. We're always still learning. This around my neck is called the collar, and it has a jewel. The jewel represents my office, and this jewel is the level, which is an operative tool used by operative Masons, obviously, to level their work when they're working the stone. For Masons, for Freemasons, it has a philosophical meaning to remind us that we should meet on the level, no matter what our socio-economic background is, no matter what religion we believe in, no matter what we do professionally. And that is the tool that symbolizes the office of the senior warden, like in a lodge room, but here in this case, I am at the Grand Lodge level. In the jurisdiction of Washington, D.C., we also wear a name badge. This is to help, especially for a Grand Lodge officer, as you travel around from one lodge to another for new brothers, new members, to know who you are. It makes it easier. So basically, it has the name on it. It says Grand Lodge, of the District of Columbia. And then the gloves. Gloves are an ancient tradition, you know, for Freemasons. The idea behind it is that you're covering your hands, everybody becomes equal, people may be wearing different jewelry, you know, nice diamond rings, that disappears, you know, basically you're wearing gloves. Now, not every lodge room still adhere to that. In some lodges, everybody is expected to wear their gloves. In other lodges, officers must be in gloves. And in some other lodges, everyone in the lodge room must wear the gloves.
All of the symbols of Freemasonry work towards a common goal, to remind and inspire Freemasons to carry on with their good work and to strive for a balance of beauty, strength, and wisdom, both inside and out.